I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Lookback. This is a series of videos that I do where I take a look at reviews I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago and tell you if anything's changed or what I think about them now, if I think about them at all. So last year I reviewed Inhuman Conditions, and I know there's several people who really like this game. It's a divisive game, but man, oh man, it's a two-player social deduction game, which sounds cool. It's based on a very famous scene from Blade Runner, but the problem with this game is the one person is lying or telling the truth, and if they're telling the truth, the game's boring. So 50% of games are boring, and there's no way to fix the problem that I can see. Then I took a look at, so that's a 4 out of 10, then a bunch of 6s here. Rogers of the Ganges Dice Charmers. It's a fine roll and write style game, but I don't know why you would play it instead of Rajas. It's too similar. Hagakure, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. That's a trick-taking game that's fine, actually, from Studio H. It just goes on longer than it should. P for Pizza. A silly little game from Big Potato where you flip cards over and name things that start with a letter. It's fast, it's simple, quality of components is it's a fine party game. It's okay. Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. This is one of the Tiny Epic games I like. I kind of like one and not like another one, but this one worked really well. There are big, grandiose dinosaur games. You know, in fact, I don't know if there's any medium dinosaur game. We have the giant dinosaur games, and then we have Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, which works really well. A lot of game packed in a small box. 7 out of 10. Cleopatra and the Society of Architects is also a 7 out of 10, which is sad considering how much I like the first version of it. This new version is very well produced. In fact, it's overproduced, and it's not as nice as it should be. It takes a while to pack it away. There's a few problems with magnets and things. It's almost too much. It's a nice little game, though, and it's fun to build everything. Honestly, though, if you can find the original Days of Wonder version, you're probably better off. But it's still a good game. Red Outpost. This is an interesting game about communism where you are the communists sent like a rocket out, and so they're trying to make communism work on a planet. So there's a little bit of that in how it's a worker placement game with very specific spots to put the different workers. It's an interesting game that I like. 7 out of 10. Viscounts of the West Kingdoms. Now, I like this the least of the trio of West Kingdom games. Architects and Paladins I like better, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. 7.5 is not bad. It is a deck building or deck kind of a card movement. It's a lot of different mechanisms that work together. In fact, the theme is barely there, but it's another solid game from Shem Phillips. Viscounts of the West Kingdoms. And then Chronicles of Crime 1400, almost a year ago. The first in this series of 3, the Millennial series, I just reviewed a couple weeks ago, the 2400 one. But this one, 8.5, very fun with visions of the future that you'll see, and a dog. It's definitely has a different feel than Chronicles of Crime, but also very similar. All right, 5 years ago, I reviewed Jeju Island, a very popular destination island in Korea. This is a kind of a Mancala-style game. It's fine, but it gets a little samey after a while. That's why I gave it a 6. Seoul, which looks like SOL. But anyway, this is an adventuring style game. You go around. It's really cool looking. It has a lot of neat pieces, but the gameplay itself is just okay, which is why I gave it a 6 out of 10. Adenia, another 6 out of 10, is a sheep racing game where you're laying out Carcassonne-style tiles to be able to move your sheep as far as you want. Some cool components, and the gameplay is a little much, a little chaotic, I guess. Dungeon Rush, another 6 out of 10, a lot of those today. This is a game from WizKids. I thought it was fine. It's a slapping game. Not everyone likes slapping games where you're going to try to grab cards to put on your people, but you need the right symbols to get these cards. Rent a Hero, another 6 out of 10 from Yellow, where you're passing cards around, building up heroes. Cinco Linko, 6.5 here. This game is very simple. It did lead to one of the most memorable videos we ever did on the Dice Tower. We did our playthrough of it, and it's fine. It's a very much of an intro game, kind of like Connect 4, but without the board. Coin Quest, 7.5. I thought about dropping this one a bit. I really like Coin Quest. It's a bag builder where you're putting coins into a bag, pulling them out, buying more coins with them. It's like a deck builder. The component quality is fairly low from R&R, but it has some really unique things to it. It's a pretty neat game, actually. I would love to see this with higher quality. Coin Quest. Tintus. This is from a company called Dieter Stein. They make a bunch of abstract strategy games. I really like it. I would like to review more of their games, but they only have them at Essen. You have to go to Essen to get them at the fair. This one has different colored discs that you move around. The picture doesn't make it look that interesting, I think, but it is a fun game. And also Itoli, this is a very thinky game where you're moving these marbles around. I believe Z and I played both of these live on the channel at some point. You might be able to find that, but I enjoyed both of these at 7.5. Then Escape Room the game. Now, I gave this one initially a 9. I dropped it an 8.5. I still really like this one. It's just that in the order that I put all the different escape room games, this is kind of falling into place with how many there are. But this one has the physical keys you stick into the box that will then tell you if you go to the next level or not. I really like this style of game. It came with, I think, 4 different adventures in it. They're very hard. It's kind of a one-shot adventures. Yes, you can technically repackage everything, but it's too much work. But this is still, if you want to play an escape room game, this is a good first-time one to check into. And then Beast of Balance. It feels like this is more than 5 years. It feels like I've been playing this a while. This was not too much of a game, more than an activity. I mean, there's a game to it as you're stacking these beasts on this device that hooks up to your iPad or phone or whatever, and then you're combining these animals and making weird animals. It's so much fun. They've introduced expansions to it. I've taken this to parties, let kids just mess with it. They've since added a competitive game to it, which is also a lot of fun. This is just so unique and interesting, and I can't wait to see the new stuff that they make for it. Beast of Balance. All right, 10 years ago, I reviewed Kill Shot. This game is just awful. It's awful in every regard. It's a terrible game, a terrible theme, where you're like killing real-life people, terrorists or not. That's not something I want to do, but it's also just a game where you're playing 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and whoever plays the 10 makes the kill shot. Really? Oh, the rest of the numbers don't matter? It's just awful. Test a 1 out of 10. So bad. Test the Fire Bull Run 1861. This is a light war game, but it's just too light. I didn't find it enjoyable at all. 5 out of 10. Five Fingered Severance. This is a game about stealing from a store. This is from Minion Games. Minion Games was kind of just throwing all kinds of games at the wall to see which ones worked. This is one that did not work. So Five Fingered Severance gets a 5. Lost Temple. This is one I thought I would like more. I give this a 5.5. A lot of people disagreed with me on this. This is from Bruno Fedduti. This is a racing style game where you pick a card and that card gives you kind of an ability. I just found that the race took too long and felt too chaotic to be fun. Olympos. I got to pronounce this one right because there's a lot of these games. There's Olympus and Olympos, and I think they came out around the same time. This one's from Felipe K. Arts, who did Small World. This has tech. There's a lot of cool things in this, but at the end of the day, it was just a little too long, so 6 out of 10. Super Dungeon Explorer, 10 years ago, very much enamored with the chibis. In fact, this is one of the first time I saw chibis in a game. This kind of just dungeon where they just keep spawning over and over like Gauntlet. I like it, but the rules are a little messy and it hasn't aged that well compared to other companies like Simon, who took the reins and did much better, I think. So I dropped this from a 7 to a 6. And Hunting Party. This one here is a game that I think is a fine game where you're going around, you're playing cards in a grid, but it very, very poor production values. And today I just wouldn't tolerate that as much as I did 10 years ago, so I dropped it again from a 7 to a 6. Anyway, those are the reviews that I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago. I hope you enjoyed it. Check them out. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Look Back on the Dice Tower.